Good evening and warm welcome to all the participants. This is session number 188 on the WiseViews Leadership Conversations. Please join me in welcoming our distinguished guest, Shri K. Padmanabhiah Garu. Good evening, sir, and welcome to this conversation.
Good evening.
Great pleasure that you have agreed to speak on our platform, sir. I will do a brief introduction and then hand it over to you for your opening remarks. Please allow me to share my screen. These are WiseViews sessions, which I mentioned earlier. This is session number 188. Typically, we hold this on Fridays, but this is a Thursday, and as per some operational requirements, we have shifted it to Thursday for this week. We are joined by Mr. K. Padmanabhiah Garu, the role of IAS in governance, theory, and reality. That's the topic for this evening. So this introduction and talk will be for about 20-25 minutes, and after that, we have the Q&A in two clusters. Let me take this opportunity to introduce Sir Padmanabhiah Garu. He is currently the chairman ASCI. He joined civil services, that is the Indian Administrative Service, in 1961 and was allotted to the Maharashtra cadre. He served government of Maharashtra in a variety of important positions like Director of Sugar Cooperatives, District Collector Nasik, Principal Secretary Planning, Principal Secretary Finance, Municipal Commissioner of Greater Bombay, which is now Mumbai. His tenure as Director of Sugar Cooperatives 70 to 74 saw the most spectacular growth of sugar industry in the state due to his rapport and close working with the leadership in the cooperative movement and received national and international recognition. He was invited by various state governments. During his tenure in Nasik district, he was adjudged as one of the best districts in the country in performance of the 20-point program of Prime Minister late Srimati Indira Gandhi, and his work was extensively covered by the national press. His performance as Municipal Commissioner, Greater Bombay, received wide acclaim in the press and public, and he was awarded the prestigious Giants International Award for Excellence in Civic Administration. He worked as Secretary Civil Aviation, Chairman of both Air India and Indian Airlines in 1994, and as Union Home Secretary and Secretary Jammu and Kashmir Affairs 94 to 97. As Union Home Secretary, he played an extremely crucial role in reviving the political process in Jammu and Kashmir state during 94 to 97 and in holding the very first elections in the insurgency-ridden state after a gap of 9 years. His work received nationwide recognition and he was awarded the Shiromani Award for National Development and Integration and the Priyadarshini Award for Outstanding Public Service. After retirement in the year 1997, he was appointed as the Government of India representative for the Naga peace talks. He persuaded the Naga rebel leadership, which was based abroad for decades, to come back to India, persuaded them to move away from their rigid stand of sovereignty, continued the dialogue with patience and perseverance, and persuaded them to continue the ceasefire, which led to peace in Nagaland and Naga inhabited areas of Northeast during the last 10 years. He was awarded Padma Bhushan by the President of India in 2008 for outstanding contributions to the nation in the field of civil services. Mr. Padmanabhiah obtained a master's degree in geology from Andhra University and obtained the coveted and prestigious Sripati Gold Medal and obtained a master's degree in financial management from the prestigious Jamnalal Bajaj Institute of Management, Mumbai. Wonderful, sir. Great profile. And now I will also introduce my esteemed colleague, Professor R. Prasad. He is the Senior Director in the Academic Wing at ICFAI Group, and he brings 3 decades of rich experience to the table as an entrepreneur, as a corporate professional, and now as an academic. He holds BTech from IIT Bombay and PGDM from IIM Kolkata. Wonderful. Welcome, Dr. Prasad. We are all set, sir. We are quite excited to listen to you. We have got a huge registration based on your name. A large number of people have joined from across the country. Some of them are teachers, some of them are students, some of them are aspirants of civil services, business leaders, entrepreneurs, civil society leaders, so on and so forth have joined. Let us see what is in store for them. And we are with great expectation requesting you to commence this session, sir. Over to you and thank you.
Thank you, Sudhakar Garu. And it's nice meeting your colleague, distinguished colleague, Dr. Prasad also. And good evening to all the participants of this webinar. Though I'm slated in 188, it doesn't matter, but someday I'm addressing you. So I'm very happy to address your WiseViews leadership conversations being hosted by ICFAI. ICFAI today is a huge organization, but there is an umbilical connection between ICFAI and ASCI. One, your founders, Shri Professor SSV, was teaching at ASCI before he moved out and established the ICFAI. Similarly, your last Vice Chancellor, Shri Mahendra Reddy, has been a great friend. We have been interacting with him quite a lot. So I have some connection, I claim some connection with ICFAI, and it's always a pleasure to participate in your programs. Now, let me tell you why I took this particular subject, because you left the subject to me, the role of the IAS in the governance, theory and reality. I took it for three reasons. Reason one is the civil service exam for the IAS is a highly and hugely popular amongst the youth of the country. Not only now, right from the time I was sort of selected in 1961 onwards, every graduate would take a shot at it some time or the other. In those days, there used to be 3 chances to pass the examination. Now I think there is an umpteen number. I mean, up to 10 chances you can take. And the age of recruitment also has been increased. When we joined, it was between 21 to 24. Once 24 is reached, you can no longer join the IAS or the service. Well, anyway, things have changed. But the fact is that over 5 lakh students, I mean graduates, appear for this examination. As I said, it's a hugely popular, this one. And every graduate, I'm sure, had taken a shot at this exam. And it is also labeled as one of the toughest exams, not only in this country, but anywhere else. So why is it so? I mean, there is the reason one why I picked up this topic. The second reason is a lot of people do not understand the philosophical underpinnings of an all India service and why there is an all India service at all. And also how exactly it is organized, the IAS. They have vague knowledge, but not an intimate knowledge of it. And what exactly is the role of the IAS officers in the administration of this country. A third reason is, while it is a hugely popular vocation for the students, otherwise, unless it is popular, they would not be appearing in such numbers. It is also subjected to a number of criticisms from various quarters. Now, some of them genuine, some out of grapes are sour syndrome, and some out of pure jealousy. But we can't do away with 2 criticisms. One is from the Prime Minister himself. Some time ago, Prime Minister said that IAS chaps think they know everything, and then they can fly aeroplanes, they can run ships, something like that, he said. Fortunately, he has not repeated that thereafter. It was a one-off comment, I suppose, because civil service people did meet him and tell him their views on that. A second one, more recent one, is the Chief Minister of Telangana. He said the IAS officers are not happy. They are not doing their work. Their business is to advise the political masters on how well to run the administration. But instead of that, he said they would give wrong advice. They would tell you how to do wrong things in a right way. You know, technically it's right, but it's a wrong policy, you know. So that was a very serious criticism. Now, I won't care about the criticism from others, though I need to take cognizance of it. But a PM, Prime Minister of the country, and the CM of an important state like this making comments, so we need to examine these things, you know. So these are the 3 reasons why I thought I would talk on this topic. Coming to the basics of it, what is the IAS and how are the people selected? How do they run? First thing what I do is, even before I go to that, whenever I meet a group of IAS officers individually, I remind them that they belong to the Indian Administrative Service. So I underpin and underline those 2 words, Indian and service. Now, you are not a state service officer. You are not from a Jharkhand service officer or a Telangana service officer. You are an all India service officer. So meaning is, you must have a perspective and vision of India. Whenever decisions you take, whatever decisions you take, they should be good for the country. The India is the perspective, not the particular state. State also could be there, but the broader perspective has to be India. The second one is service. You know, unlike the police forces, you know, CRPF, Central Reserve Police Force, Border Security Force, some other force, there's not a force, there's a service. So you are supposed to deliver service and not boss over the people and then do that. So you need to service is the motto. Now, I belong to the Maharashtra cadre, as you mentioned. In Maharashtra, the local word for the bureaucracy is Naukarshahi. In Telugu, Naukar is a servant. In Marathi, it has a different meaning, but it's called Naukarshahi. I think it is an apt name, You are the servants of the people. And that's why the culture that is developed in the IAS officers in Maharashtra is totally different from what it is in Andhra Pradesh. Let me tell you, the words also matter and what people believe they expect from you and what you think you are required to do. These things are very important, Now, the survey started in 1947. Now, whenever we talk of IAS, people always mention about Sardar Patel and his comments about this creation of this service in the Indian Constituent Assembly of India, which was formulated in 1947 and then went on up to 50, and which wrote the Constitution. I just quote one statement from him. I quote, "There is no alternative to this administrative system. The union will go. You will not have a united India if you do not have a good all India service, which has the independence to speak out its mind, which has the sense of security that you will stand by your work, maybe your word, perhaps that is this one." I continue quoting, "If you do not adopt this course, then do not follow this constitution." And he said, don't go in for this constitution. Substitute something else. These people are the instrument. Remove them, and I see nothing but a picture of chaos all over the country. This is a very, very strong statement made by Sardar Patel at that time, Now, so that is the background in which it is created. Now, how is it organized now? The total cadre strength of the IAS is about 6,800 people in the entire country, the huge country that India is. But the actual number of people in the service is only about 5,500. So the entire country's top administrative system revolves around these 5,500 people. Now imagine the union government has in its employment about 50 lakh people working for them. In addition to that, each state government has got lakhs of people, civil servants, government servants working. To give you an example, Telangana has got 3 lakh people, over 3 lakh civil servants. I would call civil servants government officials. So the IAS is required, along with other services, the top leadership role in controlling. Now, controlling such a huge number with a small number of 100 people, the cadre strength of Telangana, the IAS officer, roughly about 100 or 120 or so. I may be wrong in those figures, but that is the thing. So they are required to do a lot of things. Then in this recruitment, out of this 5,500, 2/3 are filled by the direct examination, whereas 1/3 are filled by promotion. The promotion from the state civil services and also state other services, for example, cooperative department, the forest department, some other department, and all that. Now, 46% are from the general category, the people who take the examination. Only 46. 30% is from the OBC category, and the remaining are SC and ST. The point I wanted to make is 46% are from the general category. Now, I mentioned to you that the age of eligibility for writing the exam has been carried out with some reservations right up to the age of about 35. Lots of commissions who have examined the IAS have commented about this, saying that, look, if you recruit a fellow at the age of 35, how many years is he left with service? And what would be his attitude to the service? His mental setup and everything is already set from his experience up to 35 years. Now, when we joined, there is a lot of enthusiasm. You are just fresh out of the university, full of ideas, new ideas, and university culture encourages you to think afresh and all that. But that is gone. You are writing the exam for the 7th time, 8th time, I don't know. You would have mastered the technique. In fact, the other day we were having a discussion with the Union Public Service Commission chairperson here. And she was saying that a lot of candidates now, they resort to gaming with the examination. In a sense, with all these service coaching centers and all that, They know how to sort of expect a particular question and how to answer and all that gaming. So these are the things. Now, some more facts I wanted to mention is, after recruitment, what happens is the people are allocated to various states. Like I was allocated to Maharashtra, people are allocated to Andhra Pradesh, Tamil Nadu, or Telangana, or whatever it is. Now, 50% of the people in the state, the IAS, are required to be from outside the state. That means they can come from Jharkhand, they can come from Jammu Kashmir, they can come from West Bengal. It's only 50% of the people can be from the local people selected for the IAS. The reason is a mix of insiders and outsiders in a state gives you the balance, the perspective. The people from outside would bring in their own experience and all that. Now, this has a lot of implications, I would tell you. Now, sometimes it leads to some state governments not being very objective in dealing with the outsiders. Oh, he's an outsider, he may not get a proper post. At least the perception remains in some of the outsiders, in some of the states, that they are not being given the due that is due to them. Now, sometimes the local officers, because of their local contacts and the local, they have grown with the state, they get their good positions, And then the next one linked to this is what is called a central deputation. Now, in the center, the central secretariat, there is no permanent officers there. This is the most important thing you must know. When I tell this to people abroad, they don't believe this. Every officer above the level of the undersecretary are all drawn from the states on a timely basis. An undersecretary goes from Andhra Pradesh, picked up by the center. There is a process of elimination. The best of the people only go for a central deputation. Now they go at the level of an undersecretary for 5 years. After 5 years, they are required to come back to the state. As a deputy secretary, I think undersecretary is 3 years. As a deputy secretary, again, you go there, spend about 5 years, and come back again to the state. At the level of joint secretary, again, 3-4 years, and then come back to the state. After cooling off, what is called cooling off, you, once again, if you make the grade, you go. At the secretary level, of course, there is no limit, you can continue there by the time. The advantage of this is, India being a federal state, and the locus of action is in the states. Center may rule, center may give the funds, center may decide the policy, but where does the action take place? The action takes place in a district, whether it is an irrigation project or a nuclear power project or something else being put up, or some agitations take place, law and order situation. Essentially, it is in the district. Even if it takes place in Delhi, it is in the city of Delhi. So the local is very important, So what happens is these people who go to the center bring a lot of expertise of the India perspective, what happens, how the policies are framed. Not only they go to Delhi, they go abroad on foreign postings to international organizations, World Bank, International Monetary Fund, various trade organizations, so many things. The International World Health Organization, International Civil Aviation Organization. So many hundreds of organizations are there, internal organizations. So they do go there, they come back to the center, again sometimes come back to the state. So this to and fro movement of these people adds to the culture of innovation, culture of novelty, and then exchange of between what happens in the field and in the center. Now, some states resent this. They don't send people to the center on deputation. They say, no, we don't have sufficient people, or some of them are not willing to go there. Second thing, sometimes the officers themselves manipulate in such a way that they don't go to the center. They remain here because of the cushy jobs here. The state government jobs are really cushy, let me tell you. When you go as a joint secretary at a very high level to Government of India, till about 10 years ago, you are not even getting a vehicle. You have to go by public transport. You would get a house in some far off place. You have to go to the market and buy your own vegetables and come, because there are no peons, doing the service there. So living conditions are quite difficult in the Government of India. But then people still go. There is a competition to go to Delhi for people who work. But in the state, it is slightly more easy. You know the people, all the political leaders and all that. One more thing I wanted to tell you. working in the government of India adds tremendously to your culture of working. Why? I would give you an example. I was Home Secretary belonging to the Maharashtra cadre. My minister for some time was a West Bengal politician. A communist leader was the Home Minister of India at that time, UPA government, not you. Yeah, United, this one. And my secretary number 2 is from UP cadre. I had about 14 joint secretaries, each one drawn from some cadre or the other. Jammu, Kashmir, Jharkhand, Gujarat, like that. So I don't have control on them, except the period I worked as their Home Secretary. There's no Baubandaki, there's no, I can't give him a wonderful posting back in the state, and the ministers do not belong to the state. So there is an objectivity there. The people work, the assigned job they do, they go back to their cadre, some other people come. But in the state, what happens is, it is the same ministers, it is the same officers. He is from Secretary Corporation, he might become Secretary Agriculture. From Secretary Agriculture, he might go as Secretary Animal Husbandry. So there is a linkage developed, in the state cadres, the people who are in the state. The good, bad, you decide on that. So these are some of the facts, which affect the working of this one. Now, there is now coming to the cabinet, the type of decision making. One is policy advice is the most important function of the IAS officers. Now, what is the policy making this one? One is whether first to examine whether it is the proposal of the government is illegal, whether it is constitutional, does it breach the constitutional provisions? If so, you have to advise them. And then getting a cabinet decision made is a complex process. You have to consult the finance, you have to consult the planning or the Niti Aayog, you have to consult 10, 12 other departments which are concerned. You have to get their consent, their views have to be taken into account, and a decision has to be taken. So, these are implementation. Now, this is a point where some of the officers working in state as well as central secretariat are falling behind, I would say, in a way, because there are two types of posts. One is secretarial post, that is secretary so-and-so, secretary home, secretary finance and all. The other is heads of the departments. For example, director industries, director agriculture, director animal husbandry. Now, these posts are called field postings. Now, there is a tendency in India to glamorize the secretariat postings and then look down upon the, field postings as of an inferior this one, which is very, very unfortunate, So I think the British colonial legacy policy making is given a high pedestal, whereas implementation, anybody can do this job, what is their feeling? I think implementation is the most important thing, and more emphasis should be given there. I think people, the IAS officers should get out of the mindset of policy advice is more important than execution. If you don't execute, what is the use of a policy decision, So this is one of this one. Then I would come to the criticism part of it. Now, before that, there is a feeling that a number of people go into scientific departments and all that, they had this thing, which is wrong. There are so many science departments in Government of India. For example, atomic energy, space, ocean research, biotechnology, medical research, agriculture research. These are all, the secretary posts are all held by the competent people there, right from the beginning. And they do their, they may have to answer finance when a finance secretary asks for funds or some such thing. But otherwise, they have the independence. Then another criticism that has come is these are generalists. They don't have technical expertise. This is the point which is made by some people, which I totally sort of condemn, and it's not correct. The point is management itself is an expertise. That is, there is a sort of a huge thing to be said about proper management. Second thing, in India, except doctors and engineers, recruitment of those doctors and engineers, every other service is recruited as a generalist basis. Income tax officers, customs officers, forest officers, railway service officers, military lands and cantonment officers. There are about 25, 30 services. All these people write the same common examination. Depending on the rank, they are put various. So there is no expertise at that level. The expertise comes on the job. Once somebody is posted in the income tax, he works for 30 years in the income tax. So he becomes an expert in income tax. Somebody works in the posted to customs. He works for 30 years in customs. So he develops an expertise. Now, a proposal has been made long time ago saying the entire administration can be divided into 5-6 groups. Agriculture, animal husbandry, fisheries, allied subjects, one group. Industry, manufacturing, one group. Commerce, trade, another group. Foreign trade. The fifth one, regulatory functions like defense and home, finance, separate. Now, specialize these people. People with economics background are there, people with some other background are there. Rotate them in the same jobs, not post them one day as animal husbandry commissioner and second day into atomic energy commissioner. Don't do that. Broad areas of specialization, 6-7 areas, rotate them throughout their life after the initial training as a district magistrate. After that, once that period of 5 years, 10 years is over, rotate them in those jobs and let them develop expertise, But for various reasons, this has never been a success. And both officers as well as politicians are responsible for this. Let me tell you that. Why officers? They want to cling to a particular post which they perceive as good. They don't want to leave it. They don't want to leave that minister. There is a linkage developed between the two. So he wants to be there. And he moves with the minister some other job. If the minister moves. Our minister asks, you must post him here, you should not shift him. So the cabinet secretaries' independence to do that and rotate them into broad, this one is broken. Because my minister would say, I know Padmanabhiah, he is good to post him here as Home Secretary. So done. I mean, you can't do anything about that. Sometimes the officers take the lead, sometimes the politicians take. Now, they say another, this one is, these people think too much of themselves, IAS officers, high and mighty, away from the people. I mean, there is a lot of truth about it. I think because of the training given in a rarefied atmosphere of Mussoorie hill station, and still the British traditions of eating with a fork, knife, and all those things. When we were recruited, I don't know, I overshot your this one, but I would stop now. We were told when you go to the districts, you be very friendly with the state bank manager and also with the civil surgeon. These two fellows are very, very important to you. This is what they used to tell us. Because your salary would be over by the 20th of the month. Poor salaries. You may not know. I started my career as an IAS officer with 300 rupees salary. 300. So they would say, that's why the state bank official. And then the job is so tough. You would require health care. So civil surgeon, these are the two fellows. The third one that is mentioned is, don't be seen overtly moving around with politicians, either of the opposition or of the ruling party. Officially, whatever you have to come in contact, yes, but no linkages developed with them. Don't be too friendly with the rich and mighty in the district, because the poor people would get a feeling that you are working as their agent. The topmost man, the richest landlord in the taluka or the district, you are seen having dinners every third day at their place. Avoid these things. These were the things which were told to us. Those days, if a car is taken, a government official, if he is given a car, if it is found in front of a school or a marketplace, people would immediately charge sheet you, the police. Misuse of car. Why is it in a market? Why is it in a hospital? Why is it in a cinema hall and all? But now in the name of security and all that, it has all gone. Today's newspaper, I read a officer, a very senior officer of Telangana, Kadar, working in the Chief Minister's office, charging about 61 lakhs or some such thing to the agricultural university using their car, Maybe she was in charge of the agriculture department in a supervisory manner. This happens in the public sector undertakings. Ministers also demand a car from the public sector undertaking to be placed at their residence. Senior officers also say, "Arey, hamara ek hi gaadi hai aur gaadi pe lo." These are the things I think which people should avoid the temptation, So these are some of the things, and I have a long list. But Prime Minister now, capacity building is the buzzword these days. You build capacity of these people. Huge amount of improvement is taking place. There is a Ministry of Administrative Reforms. Lot of reforms have been brought in digitization and all that. You know what is happening in the country. And, IT business, they're doing, the government policies are good. Incidentally, I wanted to tell you one more thing. IT has grown so fast in India because we didn't have a law controlling the IT for a long, long time. The first act came in 2000 or so, whereas IT has been there from 1985, 90 onwards. The initial days, the fillip was given by the industry, the so-called NASCOM, and there used to be a maverick officer there, Mehta, Devang Mehta or somebody, and then NIIT, there used to be a body called National Institute of Information Technology. One of the private fellows from Bombay had set up that. He was the one who trained all these people. There was no law controlling the IT. And that's how we made use of that year 2YK and, spent hundreds and thousands of people to America for the computer work and all that. That's how it has grown. Now things have changed, let me tell you. IAS officers have changed, but so have politicians. Politics used to be a service at one time. Today it's no longer a service. It is their politicians are paid. MLAs are paid. They get pension, not one pension, but 2-3 pensions. If he's an MP, if he is an MLA at different points of time, and the perks are wonderful. So it has become a profession. Now, the minimum, yesterday's newspaper says, the average assets of a politician in Andhra Pradesh, average for all the people is about 58 crores. Now, elections have become so extremely costly. Now, how are you going, if people are spending about 100 crores to become an MP, why are they doing it? It is no longer a service. It has become a profession. So it has changed. Now, voters have changed. Voters no longer want good policies. They want freebies everywhere. Now, things have changed a lot. And so you can't hold one service saying, IAS, it has not changed or whatever it is. There are bad elements there also. But I think I overshot your time. So I would stop here and we can go ahead with your question answer series.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much for providing this huge overview, which is largely unknown, unheard of, in terms of the fact that the origins of civil services, origins of IAS, the philosophical underpinnings, criticisms, and more importantly, you have dealt with in the initial remarks about the composition and why certain people are posted. What is the proportion of people drawn from state, center, and that structure is very, very important for us to understand, and why that structure is aimed at. It is aimed at providing some kind of objectivity, and therefore a lot of care has been taken in designing the composition and the structure of civil services to run this country, which requires large number of civil servants given the population rise as well as the number of districts that we have and the number of other officers that we have. Everyone needs to be led into productive service with the help of civil services.
Basically, to preserve the federation.
Preserve the federation. Yes, sir. Yes.
The national outlook, that is the important thing.
Excellent. Thank you, sir. So with this overview, we are now ready for the questions. We have 2 clusters of questions, as I mentioned earlier. I request Professor Prasad to join for the cluster. Those who have raised their hands, please keep it raising. We will take that question in the second cluster. We have about 30 minutes to go from now. Over to you, Professor Prasad.
Thank you, Professor Rao. Thank you, sir, for giving us a fairly quick overview of the immensity of the administrative services, as well as the main structural elements, as well as the issues that you have seen across your frame, as well as what is happening now. So I'll start with a question, and this is triggered by your statement that management is an expertise that is gathered. Could you highlight 2 of the biggest challenges that you faced in work and how you approach them?
Well, the biggest challenges were in Kashmir. As Home Secretary, I was responsible for maintaining law and order in Kashmir. And one of the biggest challenges I faced was holding the elections after about 9 years of no election. They did not permit an election in Jammu Kashmir, the militants. And at that time, it was at its peak. People were being killed. And people were afraid to stand as a candidate for the election because they would be shot dead. And civil servants did not cooperate. They did not want to participate in the election because on the excuse that they would be killed, their families would be killed. And so the candidates were not there. Actually, the political leaders left the country. And for example, Farooq Abdullah went and sat in London because he had some London connection. And other people had left Jammu Kashmir and came to Delhi. They used to live in Delhi, in the safety network of Delhi. How would you hold the elections? You hold the elections, you have to mobilize people. The democratic process has to go on. And you would say you are a civil servant, what is the democratic process you would do? Well, encourage the people to participate, to talk, to go around, tell about the problems, how it can be solved, how a representative should be elected and all that. So it was a great process. But the worst is the logistics of the holding elections, because the local civil servants threatened, saying that they would not participate in the election, maintaining the voters' list, the vehicles, keeping the poll booths open and all that. So we had to induct a lot of people from outside, and all their the polling booth records were in Urdu because it is all written in that. I had to look for people from Hyderabad, Bhopal, Lucknow, and other places where people knew how to read Urdu. I had to take those people and then depute them, request them to go to Kashmir. Who would like to go to Kashmir in that atmosphere? But we persuaded them. They responded to that. Then sending drivers to who knew sort of mountain driving there, and then sending huge number of doctors, because in case there are casualties, they have to take care of these things. The logistics was a fantastic job. So Seshan was the election commissioner at that time. I was the Home Secretary. We had a huge role to play. That was one of the challenges. The second challenge was the Naga peace talks. I won't go into the merits of the argument, but the fact is, Naga Underground is an extremely strong organization at that time. In fact, they call it the mother of insurgencies in India. The day India became independent, these people had given a notice saying we want to be an independent nation, the Nagas. People may not understand that. And so what has happened is underground movement has grown. They would extort taxes. They wouldn't call it extortion, they would say taxes. Taxes have to be paid to the underground. Even the legitimate government had to pay taxes to the underground, And the leaders, they're armed. Arms were supplied by the neighboring countries at that particular time. China, Pakistan, through Bangladesh and all that. So to face these people and to bring them to the sort of negotiating table, it was the initiative taken by Mr. P.V. Narasimha, the great man that he is. Then what happened is, they insisted on unconditional talks. All the opposition people in India said that how can you hold unconditional talks with these fellows? Suppose they demand independence. So I advised the Prime Minister, sir, what is the difference between unconditional and conditional? Let them talk anything, let them make any. So we would say, no, we cannot give you freedom. Why should we put right in the beginning saying that the talks would be conditional? You cannot raise the issue of independence. Let them raise, we would say no. So Narasimha agreed, Narasimha. So that's how we went. Second thing, these were all based abroad for the last so many years, 20, 25 years. I persuaded them to come to India because they were trying to convince me of their cause. I told them that, look here, you are convincing me has of no meaning. The point is, you have to convince the Indian politicians, the Indian parliamentarians, not only in the ruling side, but on the opposition side also. You go around the country and see how various states are independent in their own way, even though they belong to the nation of India. Tamil Nadu has its own rule, so is Nagaland, so is Manipur, so many. So you come back to India, go around these places, and then study that. They resisted, but then I insisted on that, and they were not touching Indian constitution. They said the moment Indian constitution, they would say no talks. I said at least read the Indian constitution, find out what it contains, how it gives you so much of powers. I held classes to them on Indian constitution and its provisions and all that. And then all this took, the basic point I wanted to mention is patience, 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 patience is the only answer to deal with them. Ultimately, I brought the entire leadership to India. They live in Delhi now, next to a parliamentarian's house, which was unheard of. For the last 15 years, they are there, still going on with some negotiating this one. But let me tell you one word about the press. The press plays tremendously positive role and also tremendously negative role. Now you go to this gentleman who is the leader of the Naga underground and go and ask him, have you given up your demand for sovereignty? They would ask. What would they reply? He would say, no, why would I give up? If a decision takes place, that is a different thing. So you, by asking him, you are provoking a answer, splash a headline saying Nagas do not give up the demand for independence. Then there will be comments, counter comments, this, that, and all that. Now it is like throwing a stone at a beehive, So you have to handle all these things. That's the second one. Third one, as I mentioned, the cooperative movement in Maharashtra. Let me tell you, the cooperative movement had fantastic leaders in Maharashtra. Most of them are 8th class pass, 8th pass, they would call it, 8th standard. They have no formal education. But tremendous brains in bringing people together, cooperation, motivating them to participate in the cooperative ventures. The cooperatives have been great success. I never projected myself. I gave all the credit to the cooperative leadership. Without formal education, I used to put them on the pedestal and say, Kaka Sahib, Baba Sahib, Falana Falana, these are the type of names that they call themselves, So I encouraged them, and in my period of 5 years, 49 new cooperative sugar factories, full-sized cooperative sugar factories have been set up. Later on, they became centers of political patronage and the industry has suffered something. So these were the good things, So many others I can mention. The experience of, as a district collector, you go, you don't know whether you are there for 3 months or 3 years. Generally, people continue for at least a year or two. But in a place like UP, they are transferred in 3 months, let me tell you. So people do not plan their work, especially as a district magistrates and collectors. I told them, assume that you are going to be there for 3 years. Assume. You may be transferred after 1 year. But prepare a 3-year plan, what you need to do. Whether distribution of restoration of tribal lands to the tribals, distribution of forest land, preservation, afforestation schemes, whatever it is, have a 3-year plan. Cut it down into 1-year plan. Have your priorities and do it. So I think the first time an experiment was done at the district level to do these things, even before the democratic decentralization. I think these are some of the challenges which we faced. I never had any problems with the politicians, let me tell you, except some very, very minor ones. I had no problem. The problems come, you need to have wonderful cooperation with the politicians. But unfortunately, what happens is a lot of officers are in collusion with the politicians or in collision with the politicians. Either they oppose the political this one, saying this cannot be done, that cannot be done, or they're in collusion. Whatever they say, we would like to do. Session has said, if you can, do it. If you cannot, say no. These are the 2 principles he always followed, If it is against the rules, you should clearly tell them, sir, this is not possible. Now, Supreme Court has given a decision saying that no government servant should implement oral orders given by a minister. They should give in writing. Because tomorrow you would not stand by his this one, Now, many people do. We have seen in Telangana a case where one of the officers has said, the former minister has told me to do this. No, that is not an excuse. The Supreme Court case should be quoted. The then Cabinet Secretary called TSR Subramaniam went to the Supreme Court on this. And Supreme Court gave a clear verdict that you are not bound to follow the oral orders of a minister. They should give it in writing. So these are some of the things you do. Don't oppose for opposition, politicians for opposition's sake. And I am sometimes shocked that without budget provision, so many sanctions go on. How is it possible? What is the sanctity of the budget? I think civil servants should know, they exercise tremendous powers for the sake of the country, and they should do that.
Thank you, sir. I think in through many initiatives, examples, you have, I think, brought out the point that management is indeed an expertise and a technology and a science in itself. I think each of them is worthy of a separate discussion. There's a lot to learn from each of them. We are at 4:49, sir.
Sorry, I'm the culprit for that.
Yeah. So I'll quickly take one question and hand it back to Professor Rao. And this is, if there is one reform, you have mentioned that there are reforms which are taking place, but if there's one reform which you would take as, in your mind, number one reform for the civil services, which would be it, sir?
Two reforms, I would say. One is cut down the levels of decision making. You know what happens? I would give you a good example. Mr. Murali Manohar Joshi was Home Minister for a few days when I was there. One file was put up to him, signed by section officer, under secretary, deputy secretary, joint secretary, additional secretary, secretary. Then he said, I agree, but it put an arrow mark right down to the section officer. I agree with the section officer. Because there is no change in the recommendation of any of these fellows here. They just followed what the undersecretary has submitted. So decision-making levels can be cut down very much. The Prime Minister Modi Sahab has done it now, has done it to some extent, but it needs to be done more, cut the levels of decision levels should be only 2, or at the most 3. A suggestion, approval by the secretary, and approval by the minister. If a cabinet decision has to be taken, then it can start with the joint secretary, approved by the secretary, approved by the minister, and it can go to the cabinet. Don't start with the section officer, Then you become an instrument in the hands of the section officer. He would not put up the file, would not. The secondary is government, when it is taking some decisions on files, please give the reasons for that decision. I tell you what, in a secretariat, if somebody made a request, they would write 2 pages of note as to why it cannot be done, or why it can be done, whatever it is. Mostly why it cannot be done, they would write a lot of reasoning. But ultimately, when it is approved, please inform me my say, they would write a 1-line reply. Your request for such and such action has been examined, and it is regretted it cannot be done. That's all they inform you. I told them, you have written 2 pages of note why it cannot be done. Why don't you communicate it to him? They say no. Officers would tell me, sir, if you give all these reasons, you will go to the court. Let him go to the court if he is not satisfied with that. So I think your orders on files and all that should be self-speaking. The decision should be self-speaking. You don't write a 1-line reply saying your request has been rejected. These are the 2 suggestions I would like to make.
Fantastic, sir. I think not just for the civil services, these 2 suggestions are equally good for all walks of life. And I think, equally good for all walks of life, to make it more dynamic, transparent, and, get in the right direction. Thank you very much, sir. I hand it back to Professor Rao. There are many more questions.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. This conversation is going on very well. It looks like long answers for very important questions. The answers seem to be like the answers given by the aspirants for civil services. It's very long and very good, and it's quite educative. Sir, the topic actually warrants a kind of a doubt, and I'll express that doubt. That is the role of IAS in governance, theory, and reality. Do you see a deviation from theory? Is the reality deviant from theory at this point in time?
To a great extent, but I made that answer. It is not only civil service which has changed, the political composition has changed. You go back 20 years, politics was not a profession, it was a service. Today, politicians draw huge salaries, huge pensions, huge requisites, huge expenditure on elections. So do you call them as a public service? No. They have adopted the definition of public servants, and so they are getting their salaries and all that. 2, as the electorate itself has changed. Earlier, they would say that give me a bridge here, give me a road here, give me an asset here, improve my land or whatever it is. Today, you are asking for freebies for everything. Now, this perennial write-off of agricultural loans every 2nd year or 3rd year throughout the country, I have never understood. this. Then why are you doing agriculture at all if it is to be written off every year and all that? So everything has changed. So civil service also has changed. One is there are more cases of corruption. Then they have become more remote from the public. Accessing an IAS officer, the general feeling in the society is, oh, they're sort of a class apart. They think very highly of them. There is no contact with the public, and then empathy is not there. Forget about sympathy, empathizing with those. An ordinary man may fear an IAS officer. There is no reason for that. They are not accessible. That is the trouble. And then some control on. One more thing, the change is, there used to be minimum number of touring days in the past. During the British time, in fact, they said you must have tent camps. In the sense, there would be no bungalows, dog bungalows and all that. So you have to take your tent and then camp in some remote village and understand the problems of those people. Forget about it. That is not necessary now. But touring is extremely important, a minimum amount of touring. Inspections are very important. Education, as somebody has said, India sends a man to the moon with the least cost. The cost of, as the Prime Minister is fond of saying, less than an auto rickshaw cost, he says, per kilometer. Then why can't you run a good school? Why can't you run a good hospital in the government? Why? There is no attention, Please inspect the schools. Please inspect the hospitals. Please go and do certain things. Most of the officers are not doing. I won't say all of them, but a number of officers don't tour. As the Chief Minister has said, they are accustomed to the AC rooms, AC offices. Okay. I think this is one important, because administration is nothing but an understanding of the ground conditions and application of sound common sense in most cases.
Good. Well said. Appreciation of ground conditions and application of sound sense of decision making. Yeah.
Oh, common sense, I say.
Common sense. Okay. Great, sir. Great. Thank you. So therefore, this takes us to another question. Do you see that the current, say, if I take at least one position of a civil servant in the initial days of a district collector, do you think there is an absolute power vested with a district collector? He or she can do anything in terms of weaponizing the transfers, in terms of taking some sweeping decisions on the rest of the officers, and it is like an unquestionable authority. That's what a common man looks at at that institution. So is it true in real? Does it go unchecked? Is it so absolute?
No, I don't think so. I don't think it is absolute at all. There are so many checks. The point is, most of them have no interest. That's what I'm saying. If you have interest in improving the district, as I said, first thing is go around, go and inspect the schools, go and inspect the hostels, go and inspect the hospitals. So do work, mix with the people, motivate them. You have to play a leadership role. I think that is missing, So they are basically, now tell me, did we ever have any problem with land records in the past? How old are you? I don't know. I am 87.
I'm 50 plus.
You are 50 plus. Now, land records means it was a sanctity, they record. But today, they are in a mess. Here, what is it called? That one which we had in Telangana, that...
Dharani.
Now, finish. Andhra Pradesh, something else, some act was passed, Land Titling Act. The act had to be repealed. So, this is self-created mess. It was not required. It was running very smoothly for hundreds of years. Now, you created the problem. You mean the political bosses, the Dharani, and all that. Now, if something is not broken, don't try to repair it. Don't try to mend. So this is the thing. So perhaps there is money in that, doing that. Perhaps.
Okay. Good, sir. Good. Thank you very much, sir, for those candid comments. The next one is in civil services. Currently, also there is this proposition and practice of making parallel recruitments, not through the UPSC, but if you find expertise in some other domains, people from those are also recruited into civil service. That is called parallel recruitment. What's your comment on that, sir?
Lateral entry.
Lateral entry, yes.
See, expertise is there. It can be. The point is, the most important thing for a civil servant is a desire to deliver. action to some intelligence. The desire to act has to be there. If you have the desire to act, you can always get expertise. I am asking you, if Adani is a multi-genius brain or some such thing, that he can set up the best ports, he can put up the best airports, he can put up the whatever it is, the best ones. Now he has money. He knows how to use money, how to get from the money capital, and he would appoint the right technical persons for that. But the decisions, management decisions, are taken by him or by his close friends. So you can always buy expertise from people. Everybody cannot be an expert in everything. So expertise can be obtained by giving proper remuneration, by proper placement of officers as advisors. But the man should have a desire to deliver. If you have no desire to deliver, nothing would work.
So fundamental to this is desire to act, desire to deliver, and that should be the guiding principle. And expertise can always be outsourced. Yes. Thank you, sir. I'll request Babli Kumari ji to raise her question. Over to you, Babli Kumari ji. Please go ahead and ask the question to sir. In the meantime, sir, I want to ask you what is currently happening in the United States of America is an establishment of DOG, Department of Government Efficiency. Such a parallel is required in India, sir. What is your comment on that?
Yeah, I don't know whether those statistics reeled out by President Trump are correct, because he said old age pensions, I am sure you must have heard, for people between the age of 100 and 119, so many $1 million being given, old age pensions. Between the age of 120 to 139, 140 to 116, he has gone up to, I mean, it's laughable. So he said, America seems to be more healthy than I thought. That's what he said. I don't know, because he was giving absolute figures in dollars and in ages. Either the computers have gone wrong, like that Y2K, they didn't know how to change 1999 into 2000. That's why they took so many fellows from here. Maybe there is something wrong with it, but I think it requires a lot of cleansing. The only point on which this fellow has won is, he said, I would drain the swamp of Washington, he said. Washington, D.C. is the capital. It is a swamp. You don't know how much money is being spent on the federal agencies. And doing what? I think a cleanup is necessary, but not in such an arbitrary fashion as he is doing. But it's shocking, the figures that he reads out, if they are right. To an extent, it is happening. And you must know, if you talk to you should call the Secretary for Administrative Reforms in Government of India, a gentleman called, or Telugu gentleman, I'm forgetting his name. I would just tell you 1 second. Srinivas. Now, he would tell you, by taking out all the old record, he has created space of about 5 million cubic square meters of office space by taking up a muhim for an activity for cleaning up old records. And so many things have been done, and Prime Minister is giving a lot of importance now to what is called Karma Yogi, Project Karma Yogi. And that means Indian ethos. Put the desire to act is the first thing, as I was mentioning to you. Desire to deliver, then everything would follow.
Right, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. I'll request Mr. Chainalu to raise his question. Over to you, Mr. Chainalu. You have a question? Yeah, please go ahead. Yeah.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
Actually, I was wondered that you have got a Padma Bhushan, and then we are seeing you on the screen, not met. I was working with NHPC in a government organization. Then I came to the ASCI. And our projects are there in north and northeast, in the interior places where Uri and other places. We used to ply with the, what you can call cars, which has got this one, for safety purposes. Sir, now the logistics and communication has drastically changed. So in good olden days, when you are working, it was not there. So the question is that the governance has become easy in compared to the good olden days.
Yes, it has. With the GPS and then, location, this one, space technology, the place, what is happening there, on time, real time. So it's much easier, but you must use that. You must use, and whatever you have found, you must take actions based on that. As you said,
government is using that, but how far it is beneficial to the IAS officer for the governance and other things?
No, it is very useful for decision making if it is properly used. Geotagging is very, very important, but it should be used. It should be used in GHMC, Greater Hyderabad Municipal Corporation. When drains go, water drains are leaking, something else is happening, manholes are missing. No, it is quite easy to locate them and then get the repair done in a matter of minutes, if not,
Are the government using it? Because earlier you can see that Singareni Quarries, so many people have gone into this one and they did not find it even for 15 days or 20 days.
No, I tell you, in Hyderabad, there was an additional municipal commissioner, a girl, what is her name? Tell me. I'm forgetting names. So, young IAS officer. She has done excellent work on this geotagging and doing that, but she has now been transferred. She became collector somewhere else and all that. I think now, no, she's Nalgonda collector now, I think. So some officers have done extremely well.
No, I can understand that. I also seen so many officers are good in their works and other things.
No, but using these new technologies, I am saying.
Yes, sir. But sometimes, as you said, the collusion with the political leaders and obey their orders is just because to enjoy the benefits of the job, or is afraid of doing something beyond there.
Afraid what you see, there is a constitutional protection for you. You are one of the most protected fellows in a government job. What protection? These are just collusion, nothing else.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much for this one. And I just really have the pleasure to interact with you. And this opportunity has given by Dr. Sudhakar Rao sir and R.R. Prasad. I am associated with ICFAI now. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. I'll request Professor Prasad to come back with his questions, and after that we'll wrap it up. If others have any questions, they can raise their hand. But now, first preference is Professor Prasad.
I think many of the questions have got answered, so I would stop here. I think the main questions have got answered in different ways, though there are. So I'll stop here.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Professor Prasad, and thank you, sir. I think over the last 68 minutes or so, we have been talking about the civil services. We have been talking about the philosophy, the structure, underpinnings, challenges, and also in your journey of civil services at Maharashtra cadre and at the union level, and subsequent to retirement also, you faced many challenges in handling those assignments. They're very, very inspiring stories. I'm sure these would move a lot of aspirants from the kind of challenges one can expect. Because if you are driven by some kind of challenge to solve a problem, this would set as an example and as an inspiration for them. And I'm sure it has really served that purpose in today's conversation. There are many aspirants I can see who have joined from various institutions, these coaching centers as well. They have joined. And those students who are in liberal arts in our own institutions have joined. Their teachers, faculty members have joined. And of course, industry leaders also have joined. Sir, in our attempt to make this conversation better, sometimes we spill over. We also tend to ask more questions. We take more time than what is granted to us from experts like you. So it has crossed more than 60 minutes. Pardon us for that. But we will do a nice summary for this entire session and we'll share it for your approval. After that, we'll put it on our archives so that those people who have missed this session, they can go back and read up. They have a video as well as a text summary, and we'll take your approval before putting it up there. I request all the members to go through the life and times of Padmanabhiah sir and his works, because several milestones have been read out as part of his profile, and those are today, much away from the time of action. Today they look like, bullet points on a sheet of paper, but it actually talks about huge investment of effort in terms of application to one's duty, and more importantly, that sense of action, that desire to deliver at the ground level displayed by sir. I think we should all learn from this, whether you are in private or whether you are in government, whether you are in civil services or not. I think this serves as an inspiration to all of us. Thank you, sir, on this note. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having me. My only excuse is I overshot, the time.
No problem, sir. No problem, sir. When a civil servant, current or retired talks, we have to listen. So we have that expectation. Absolutely no problem, sir. We have learned quite a bit, sir. Thank you for your time. Well, your energy and expertise. We'll come back to you and keep learning from you, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, we'll meet next Friday and we talk about another leader and another interesting topic. We'll communicate the same to you. Till then, have a great weekend and good night.